Hey guys, and welcome. Channel update number 10. I'm Ignace, and today we're talking about new series, continuing series, just letting you guys know what's going on. It's been a few days since I posted the last video to my channel, and there's going to be some changes, and most of them I think should be pretty exciting. The Steam Summer Sale is winding down very rapidly. I think it's got just to the end of the weekend as of the time I'm making this video, and then it'll be gone, and we'll be waiting for the holiday sale. I didn't pick up too many games throughout the sale, and the ones that I did pick up, most of them aren't going to be really suitable for new series, I don't think. But that's not to say I haven't got some new series in mind. One just kind of popped up, one that's been kind of in the works for a little while. I'm just waiting on an update, and then we'll talk about the existing series that are going on the channel, just so you guys have an idea of what's going on. So the game that we're going to be starting a new series around is called Eden Star, and this is basically a sandbox survival first-person shooter builder kind of game. One of the things that I read when I was looking at the game and considering buying it was a comment that I don't even remember the source, I have to say, but basically all along the line that this is the game for people who wanted to play Mass Effect but couldn't because there wasn't enough Minecraft in it. From what I've seen, that's not too far off. You're basically on a hostile alien planet. You're there, you've crash landed. You have an Eden kit, which is basically like a power core that you have to track down very early in the game. It shows you where to go. You don't have to run far to get it. And that becomes the basis for your first base, so to speak. You gather materials, you expand your base, you have to defend it from aliens. You can build turrets to automatically defend or try to defend your base. You have first-person shooter-style weapons. One of them, the one that you start with, is like a laser cannon that fires from the palm of your hand, a la Iron Man. It's a little bit kind of funny at the beginning of the game because when you start shooting it, you only have 2 or 3 seconds worth of energy before you're completely dry, and then you have to run around, you know, gathering up more energy before you can use it again. But one of the upgrades that I noticed when I was recording this footage, just to kind of show you guys a little bit what it's about, is you can buy or make a rifle. If you can gather enough of the materials that are necessary, you can make a rifle that looks like it'll be a better long-term weapon than your hand cannon until you can upgrade it. There's all kinds of different upgrades available. There's different materials that you can gather and use those to make different components for your base, like cubes and panels, foundation blocks, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it is early access, so there's going to be a lot of content that's yet to be added, but what they've done is they've basically built the game with multiplayer in mind from the ground up, even though it's only single player right now. So that's something to consider if you're looking at the game and you're watching the series and you're wondering whether or not it's something you would want to get involved with, is that there will be multiplayer at some point in the future. It's like a guaranteed sort of thing that the developers want to have. And they've been building it in as they go so that it won't be such a major undertaking to take it from a single player game to a multiplayer. I think it's going to be really interesting. It looks great. It plays pretty well. I don't actually have any complaints about it, and I've specifically gone out of my way to not play too far into it because then it kind of ruins the first few episodes in the series when I already know, you know, the first 3 or 4 hours worth of gameplay like the back of my hand. So we're going to go in. Next episode should be out probably 1 or 2 days after this update video goes out, and we'll get started. You'll see, we'll crash land, and then there'll be stuff and things, and we'll shoot at some stuff and gather some stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's got a lot of promise. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. Now, one thing I will say, just up front, because it's early access, if we do encounter a situation where we've kind of exhausted what we can do with what the game has at this particular point in time, rather than chomping at the bit and producing mediocre content around it, waiting for things to be added, we're just going to set it aside and move on to something else, and then come back to it when the content is there. Similar to what we did with Besiege. You know, with Besiege, there was no real reason for me to be unhappy with the game, so to speak, but it just wasn't far enough along in development in order to be able to deliver the kinds of things that I was wanting to do. So we just set it aside, although with that one I didn't really necessarily say so. I just kind of stopped making videos. With the early access titles, provided there isn't some massive change in direction or some sort of major upheaval, Sometimes it's easier to just recognize this is as far as we can expect to get with this title for now, and we'll come back to it when there's more to it. So that'll be Eden Star. The other game that I want to get into is another early access game, and I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. This is one that I've actually had for a while, and I hinted about this one previously, but I think it's still on sale from the summer event, which is why I'm mentioning it now. So if you wanted to kind of take a look at it, right now it's on sale for $10. I paid $20 for it about a month ago when I bought it. It's called Homebrew, and it's a vehicle builder sandbox. The interesting thing about this is that it's not a voxel-based game. You actually build your vehicles out of metal tubes that you can bend and shape however you want to build the frame of the vehicle, and then you attach all the different moving components, your motor, your suspension, your wheels, your steering wheel, your fuel tank. You can have water vehicles, from what I understand, and flying vehicles as well. And then you have this great big sandbox sort of environment. It will have multiplayer. I don't know how well it works now for multiplayer, or whether it works at all yet for multiplayer. But this is another one that looks like it has a lot of potential, just because it allows the player a tremendous amount of creative flexibility to build the kinds of things that are interesting to them and get as crazy complex or as silly simple as they want, and get in there and play and be creative and have fun. And those are the kinds of the games that I like to get behind, as you may have noticed, because it puts a lot of the onus of keeping occupied happily on the player to be creative, to come up with new ideas, to try different things. And if you don't feel like being creative and trying new things or driving around in the things you've already made, then you go do something else for a while and you come back to it later, because it's all about the creativity and allowing you to build things out of things that make sense. So the main thing that I've been waiting for on this, and it's already announced, has actually been demo videos on their website showing what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. But they're working on a major UI overhaul, and I don't have any footage for you, unfortunately, otherwise I'd be showing you. The UI right now is a little bit rough. It's a little bit difficult to work with, and what it really needed was some TLC, just to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and you know, make certain things a little bit easier, a little bit more intuitive, that kind of thing. And that's exactly what they're working on. So when that patch comes in and it looks like it's stable and everything's happy, then we'll start making the new episode from that. I don't know when that will be, whether it's 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now or 2016. Just putting it out there because it was on sale. If you guys wanted to look into it, that's Homebrew. Definitely on my radar and something that I'm keeping an eye on. Which brings us to the two active series, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Cities Skylines. Grand Theft Auto 5 is, I knew it was going to be a difficult kind of market, so to speak, to break into, for lack of a better word. The community has seen so many YouTube videos popping up on so many different topics, and really right now, unless you're producing the really oddball videos doing crazy, wacky, off-the-wall things, it's really difficult to get your video in front of the people who might appreciate it, because the people who only want the 15-second, you know, GFY cat tend to downvote things like videos that aren't off the wall that they might want to watch before they have a chance to see the light of day. And when you're looking at someone like me who does most of my promotion on Reddit, 1 or 2 downvotes in the first 10 minutes after posting the link submission is usually enough to keep it off the front page basically indefinitely, unless you've done a really good job and it's very short and you've got a catchy title and everybody who wants to watch it comes along and corrects those downvotes with upvotes before you have a chance to fall off the front page of the new listing. It's a lot of trouble for a series that is already a lot of trouble to produce, and I'm fine. I'm happy to do the extra work to produce the videos with all the cinematic stuff and the in-game recording, plus the regular capture footage, and then syncing the two and doing all the camera work and stuff like that. That's part of the YouTuber thing, is sometimes that's what's necessary in order for me to produce the content that I thought was what I wanted to do. I still feel that way, but for the amount of people who are actually watching the content relative to how much effort I was putting into it, even when I didn't sometimes feel like putting in that effort, it's better for me to produce fewer episodes that I'm behind 100%. Than to kind of just keep cranking them out every 2 or 3 days and only being like 70 or 80% satisfied with them. You know what I mean? It's just a decision around quality versus quantity. And I like to think that most of the time I'm at least thinking that quality is what I'm aiming for. And if that means quantity is less, then that's what it means. But I'm still playing the game. I think it's a fantastic game. I'm really enjoying it. And I'll probably be playing it even more now that I'm not worried about whether or not I can get an episode worth of footage out of this session that I have to sit down and play. So GTA 5 will continue, just not as often as it was. It's going to be a little bit more concise, a little more aggressive with the editing that was already kind of aggressive. Keeping things down to, say, a 5 to 10 minute video as opposed to a 15 to 20. Get in, watch it. If you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, you don't feel like I wasted half your life, that'll be Grand Theft Auto 5. City Skylines, kind of the same thing. We've got so much space left to build with our city, but I don't think it's really high in entertainment value to be showing every road being built and every, area being zoned and all these other things. And we've been doing a lot of skipping of that nature and just kind of going back afterwards and saying, between episodes, this is what we did and that's what we did. I think that works better sometimes than doing the step-by-step kind of builds. It's less tedious, it's less mind-numbing, it's just a little bit more interesting. You can see in the broad strokes what's going on, and then see an example of what I'm working on for 5 or 10 minutes, and then that's the episode, and everybody's happy again. A little bit shorter in terms of the length of the episode, more condensed in terms of the content, and producing them a little less often so that I can get behind them 100% instead of just constantly trying to churn the videos out of these 2 series that I have going on. It's ultimately, I hope, will be better for the viewer, and what's better for the viewer is better for the channel. So that's the aim and the goal that we have for these 2 series, but definitely under no circumstances would I consider either of them canceled, discontinued, or anything like that. It's still ongoing. But speaking of those that are not doing so well in the continuing saga, Robocraft, for those of you who have been following my channel exclusively for Robocraft content, Robocraft will not be coming back. And there's no, I don't think there's any need for me to try and put a diplomatic spin on that. There were some recent events that took place, decisions that the developers made around support for a charity and support for themselves. I really had a hard time with what they were putting across as a charity drive that was primarily a free jam needs money drive. And there's a limit. There's a limit to how much you're willing to support a company when they find themselves in a situation that's of their own doing, and instead of being honest about it, saying, hey guys, we appreciate your support, we're in a bit of a bind now, it's going to be a little while before we have the next content update for the MOBA thing, whatever we need to do, but we need to keep the lights on. So for those of you who have been maybe considering supporting us, but we're kind of sitting on the fence, now would be a great time. That's something, even if I didn't have the money that I wanted to put further into the game, I could at least appreciate and respect their point of view and their honesty and their transparency, as opposed to saying, hey guys, we're having a charity drive, and for every like $2.50 you spend that you give to us, we're going to give 80 cents to this charity. And yeah, it's a charity drive. Yeah, it's a charity, but it's not for able gamers. That's definitely not what that was for. I appreciate that there's some money going to a charity. We don't need to try and take away from that or try and diminish that. But I think what ended up being lost in the translation is just how little of the money that's being spent was going to be going to that charity relative to how much is going to be staying with Free Gem to cover what they call necessary costs. I just don't want to be associated with that kind of thing. I've already given them plenty. In the grand scheme of things, relative to what other early access games in that sort of ballpark in terms of the level of polish and completion that just charge a flat rate, I've given Free Gem more. So to say in any way that I haven't supported them, that I resented this because blah blah, I'm not supporting, I've done my bit. I've more than done my bit, and I won't be doing any more. And that also means that I won't be returning to the game, and I won't obviously be continuing with the series. I don't expect anyone else to share my point of view. You'll have your point of view. You could be completely indifferent to whatever Free Gem is doing to raise money or not, and that's totally fine. But I can only respond based on my interpretation of things, and my interpretation of things is that Free Jam is not a company that I can get behind, and that's not going to be changing, I don't think, ever. So take that for what you will. That's kind of where we're at. Besiege, like I said, is one of those games we're just waiting for more content. And once that kind of fills out a little bit more, we can hop in and we can build some things, some crazy things, do some mini-series builds, blog showcases, all kinds of different things like we were doing before. That's another one that I wasn't unhappy with the game when we stopped. It just, we had to wait for it to ripen a little bit before it was ready for us to dive back in and continue the series. So part of my goal was intentionally to have more series in the works for the diversity factor. You won't necessarily want to watch my GTA 5 videos, and you may not be even all that interested in Eden Star, but you may find Homebrew is right up your alley when we finally start that series. Who knows? I mean, but the more series we have going without having so many going that I can't keep up with any of them, the more entertaining and diverse I think the channel will be as a whole. And it also reinforces to people that this isn't a channel for just one game. This isn't a Robocraft channel. This isn't a Minecraft channel. It's not a Guild Wars 2 channel. It's my gaming channel. And we're going to play some games. And everyone is invited to kind of tag along and take a look, see what we're doing. Maybe inspire you to try some things creatively that you might not have in the past. And generally, just a fun place to hang out and look at some games that maybe aren't necessarily always getting the coverage they deserve alongside some of the more mainstream ones. So I'm inviting you to leave your comments and feedback. One thing that I just want to remind people is for the people who are leaving comments with this setting in their YouTube profile to disable replies to their comments, if you're asking questions and replies are disabled, I can't answer them. If you're being snarky and replies are disabled, your comments get removed. It's just the way it's going to be. I've gone through periods with this channel where I felt like disabling the comment section for my videos so that nobody can do it. I don't, because I don't believe in denying people a voice, even if it's just once, to say something stupid before I ban them. At least they had their chance. They had an opportunity. I don't believe in disabling replies to comments, but everyone is different. Maybe someone had a bad experience where they left what they thought was a reasonable comment under a video and the whole community jumped down their throat over it. The white knights sometimes on YouTube are worse than the trolls. I get it. But just remember, if you're asking questions, I can't answer if you've got your comment replies disabled. So do leave your comments and feedback. If you're seeing this video, it's probably because you're already subscribed, but if you're not, if you're just going through my recent videos and you see this one and you're looking at it and you want to be notified of future updates, you can subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for that are always in the information section below the video. Thanks for watching, you guys. See you in the new and the old series. Take care.